So, how's everybody doing? What's your week been like? Any exciting news? Any funny stories to tell about the week, or are we just going to talk about movies?
Movies are better than real life.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose real life can be a little bit more entertaining than movies because, it's real. So, like, when I drink a coffee, it tastes better than watching somebody drink a coffee in a TV show.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure. I mean, I don't know. I've watched people drink a lot of coffees in TV shows, and that doesn't keep me awake.
Yep.
Well, that's the kind of energy we want to start the pod. We want lots of yawning, lots of tired,
complaining,
long pauses in between very mildly enthusiastic statements.
Yeah. So who wants to introduce what we watched this week?
Well, it was Katie's pick. So why don't you tell us about what's a movie we watched this week, Katie?
We watched M3Gan, the ultimate killer doll movie.
Otherwise known as M3Gan?
It's Megan. Don't disparage her name or she'll come for you.
Well, yeah, that's the doll's name, but the movie is M3Gan.
No. She'll know.
You know what happens to bad boys that don't mind their manners?
This is a movie about an Olsen sister real doll that goes on a killer rampage.
Yeah, basically. Throughout this movie, as it went through, I was coming up with alternate movie title names. Because, of course, everybody wants to call it Megan, I'm sure, but it's not. It's M3Gan. But another alternate name that I came up with, and I'll throw a couple out there as we go, but one of the first ones was How Not to Sell Elizabeth Olsen Dolls.
I'll rip your head right off your neck, I swear to God.
I have a couple. Olsen could be an alternate title.
Oh, with the E turned around through, so Olstrian.
And we have Chucky at home, or we have Child's Play at home. Either.
Oh, that's an insult. She had a whole beef with Chucky. She shut him down.
So, like, I'm just curious. Was the doll designed to look like Elizabeth Olsen?
No.
That's her name, right? The woman I'm thinking of, the Wanda.
Yeah, it almost feels like she could sue for use of her likeness. It's very, very, very close.
Yeah, like I was under the assumption that they hired Elizabeth Olsen to do like the facial animation work for this. So now I'm kind of, if not, then that's that's a little weird.
It's a mask.
Yeah.
It's a mask and then just special effects.
She had
Child.
Nothing to do with it.
Like this looks more like Elizabeth Olsen than what's his name? Michael Myers looks like William Shatner. So
yeah, that's funny.
I love it when I say something and people say to me, "That's funny." It's always
Express
a better
that,
response.
Yeah. It's a cerebral type of funny, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So yeah, this is a killer doll child's toy movie. It's very, very, to me, it seems very, very similar to the Child's Play remake with the whole tech angle. I wonder if these were being developed at the same time. You know how you'll get movies that are like Dante's Peak and Volcano and stuff like that, where it's like similar
Armageddon
movies.
and The Day After Tomorrow.
Yeah.
I have not kept on Chucky, so I have no clue any of that.
The remake where Mark Hamill voiced Chucky, it's all about being interconnected to the cloud and smart home features and that sort of thing. And that came out, I think, a year or so before this one did, or like around the same time, within a year of each other or something.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of interesting. But
it may have, as the writers of Malignant, and I don't remember their names, but it's a black woman and an Asian man, and small clip of an interview I saw said they base their stuff on bigger world and pulling from a bigger world than what we're just seeing in the movie, so they kind of set it up for like expanding their movies and things if they go well.
Oh, they were going to go Five Nights at Freddy's with it.
They've got other things to pull from. It's bigger than what it seems on screen, I guess. It's TARDIS theory. It's bigger on the inside.
Fezzes are cool.
We start with one thing I'll say about this movie. It has pretty great satire of the sort of modern connected world. It does that a little bit better than the Child's Play remake, because we start off with a commercial, probably one of the better in movie dark satire commercials since like RoboCop, where it's all about your dog is worthless because it can die, so replace it with this fucking Furby thing.
straight up to I just have a note here. Tamagotchi poop. Yay. You know, like, you know that your toy pets have gone to a new level when you're actually cleaning up shit from a doll. So
Yeah.
good for you, everyone.
Perpetual pets, they're called. And it's pretty entertaining. It kind of sets the tone that this is going to be somewhat of a silly movie, which I appreciate. It takes the guesswork out of.
It's funny because whereas you got RoboCop vibes, I got Starship Troopers vibes, which are both by the same guy.
Yeah, right.
You know, that's
the same general sort of idea. And so from that commercial, we cut to the car with the little Perpetua pet saying like, "Oh, my tummy hurts," and farting or whatever. And it's
just constantly farting in the backseat is what it felt like. Like, you know what? They made whoopee cushions back in like 1930 or something.
See, this is a digital whoopee cushion that does not require human interaction, sir. So
no, but it just needs to. You just need to plug it in every 8 to 12 hours because do you have a USB-C? Do you have a Lightning charger?
Right. Charger whoopee cushion.
I mean, we're all laughing at it and think it's funny, but that would be the toy that becomes a huge fucking sensation. Just a thing that constantly farts.
You know, we're plugging in our cigarettes, we're plugging in our books, now we're plugging in our whoopee cushions, and I just don't know what to think of the world. I think we should need to go back to churning butter.
Yeah, and there's a very thin membrane between absurd and reality that this movie rides, because I could see almost any of this, actually happening in the world that we're heading towards.
Well, that's another one of the names for the movie is Uncanny Valley, the movie. Because this movie kind of sits in an uncanny valley. Even the premise is like sitting in an uncanny valley. Sometimes when you're looking at the faces, you get the uncanny valley. But yeah, it's not quite reality. It's not quite fantasy.
And so one thing leads to another, and this girl with this little shitting, farting Furby robot, they're driving in a snowstorm, and they get into a wreck, and then we get the title card. We assume that, knowing these movies and how they go, I'm like, okay, parents are dead, she's gonna somehow get this M3Gan doll, and bad things are going to happen. And I was right. It's kind of how it goes. So we're introduced to the company now that makes these toys called Funky, which is, I'm pretty sure, is a direct riff on like Funko.
Oh, absolutely. And that there was
Funko Pops.
And there was a part of me that saw it as Funke, but
that's pretty good. Yeah. So Katie is the young girl. That's her name. I just want to establish, character names where we can.
Hi, M3Gan. I'm Katie.
It's nice to meet you, Katie.
And so we're at the company, the toy company, and I have a note that this guy we're introduced to as we walk through the building looks like Ezra Miller if he was a 40-year-old child.
Okay, I can see that.
But then I have a later note because I found out what he truly looks like, but we'll get there.
So just out of here, are we going to differentiate between Katie from the movie and our friend Katie sitting here with us?
No,
because if I were to say something like Katie is so dumb, how will we know if I'm talking about?
Just let it ride.
Oh, okay, all right.
We'll know.
We have to piece it together with context clues and figure out who I'm talking about.
Yeah. So this guy that we're following leads us into like a special project room where we see a team working on what appears to be, from their actions, a secret kind of AI doll, and it's not working properly. It's not taking the commands. That should be your first clue. If your AI is not obeying your commands, just unplug it. It's not worth it.
Yeah, and not to jump ahead a little bit, but like our secret AI that nobody knows we're creating is already a little bit off, and it's not saying the right words. Its face is getting all distorted. You know what we should do? We should rush that to market. We should hurry up and get it out there. Does it have superhuman strength? Yeah, absolutely. Does it have superhuman dexterity and speed and everything? Sure.
We need to get this in as many children's hands as quick as possible.
Absolutely. Do we even have a QA department? Who knows? Who cares?
I love that smirk face that gets stuck on it when they tell her. I think what do they tell her, to be fearful or something, or be upset?
Yeah,
See if I can find
and
the
it ends up
actual
becoming an
line
evil.
here. Oh, confused. It says confused, and it's like a smug grin. Maybe
You
almost.
want me to look confused?
Yeah, maybe almost as if to say me confused.
I know more than you do, Karen,
Yeah.
or whatever her name is.
Allison Williams is this lead on this program. She was in the HBO show Girls, and then later Get Out was probably her feature film debut.
You know, I didn't look up any of these actors' names, so I don't know who they are. But if you remember the TV show Dexter's sister, she reminds me a lot of this actor.
She does look a lot like Dexter's sister. That's funny.
Like they are sisters or cousins or something. I mean, obviously we know a lot of people look alike without being related, but I'm looking at her going, it would not surprise me if this was her younger sister or distant cousin or something, you know?
I don't think she is, but she is a Nepo baby.
Yeah, she is Brian Williams, NBC News anchor, Brian Williams' daughter.
Yeah, but nepotism, yay!
Yeah, I think that was a huge issue with, like, people with the girls cast in general and it becoming a huge thing, is that it was mostly Nepo babies.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, but they're they're Nepo babies. Like, they might have some talent, but let's face it.
You can be a talented Nepo baby. You could be an intelligent Nepo baby. You're still a Nepo baby.
Yes. Now, Allison Williams is literally never a good person in anything I've ever seen her play in. Like, her character is just never a decent person. She's a terrible person to give a child to.
Yeah.
Yeah. She immediately is just like, whatever, just leave me alone.
She's like
I don't even want to fucking deal with
the shittiest surrogate mom ever.
Like, not even just like, oh, she's terrible at like dealing with this child. Her sister just fucking died horrifically in front of this child, and she doesn't even look sad at any point about it.
She's more worried about her fucking doll than she is.
She's concerned with Megan. So the CEO of the company comes in or whatever and is like, "What the fuck are you doing? Like, we need toys. What is this AI bullshit?" So this dumb fuck, like, accidentally uses the wrong thing and, like, blows up her doll, which we're talking about what a terrible person she is. But I would be pissed if some dumb fuck, like, you're working on this super, I'm sure it's costly project, and you don't pay attention to what you're using and how you're applying things to this thing, and she, like, explodes his doll, or explodes her doll. He explodes her doll. And I would be pissed at this bumbling idiot. Like, how did you get a job? The doll's head blows up because he used the wrong sort of attachment on the silicone mask.
Yeah.
When they try to get it off. And so, disregarding the CEO's orders, he tells them to give him a good toy. She just continues working on the fucking AI doll.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Because that's the only thing that matters to her is the doll. Like, her sister, her brother-in-law, her niece, none of this is really important. M3Gan is the best thing.
Which, like, could be seen as a bit of a trauma response if she had not been doing this before.
Yeah. If they showed her as, like, being well-adjusted or having just a normal life, and then all of a sudden she folded herself into her work, then that would have been, like, character progression, even though negative regression kind of thing. But she just stayed the same.
Her character is, like, on a projection of a straight line. That's her character arc.
Her character arc is a straw, you know?
So she gets the call and goes and visits Katie in the hospital and picks her up and brings her home. And of course, she's a toy designer for a toy company, right? So she has all these toys everywhere. And the little girl immediately shows interest and she's like, "No, you can't play with my toys."
Yeah. But so, like, this is where so if we get to the part where the therapist comes over and they're looking at the toys and stuff like that, her opening that toy or her opening the box, at least, was the most insane thing I've seen on screen in a while, because, like, I have Funko toys, which those are kind of made to look like. I don't like the toys. Somebody got them for me. But if I were to open them, there's like a little flap that you open. Anybody that's opened a cardboard box in their life knows that there's a little flap that you open. No, this woman, like, holds the box like she's never seen a toy in her life, grabs a box cutter like she's a goddamn predator, and just starts carving at the front of the box. Like, you do not open. Imagine if somebody opened cereal that way. They're like, "Oh, would you like a bowl of cereal?" They just grabbed the knife and started cutting the fucking cereal box, and cereal's pouring everywhere, and they're just handing you handfuls of cereal. You know, like, what are you doing, woman?
Yeah, it's but this movie is sort of in a silly, absurdist, heightened reality anyway, so whatever. But yes, and so we also meet the well-meaning and seemingly nice but sort of annoying haphazard neighbor, which of course will come back. And I have the note, LOL, this lady is doing a bad job at mothering. And that's right around the toy time. Because I was like, what is this character? Why is this our hero? Who's our hero here? Do we have anyone to really root for in this movie?
The little girl.
Really?
That's
her?
our hero.
She seems kind of shitty too. She's like, fuck you, give me my toys. Like, I don't know who to root for.
Well, the alternative, this is the squeaky wheel gets the grease kind of thing. If she didn't say that, then her new foster mom would just throw her in a fucking closet and shut the goddamn door until it's time for her to eat.
Right.
She'd probably forget her for food time too.
So many other things. So she ends up trying to take her to school. What, like a day or two? Like, how long is she not
Yeah, right.
doing anything?
Yeah.
Because as someone who was just in a fucking car accident and had injuries that were probably fairly similar to this child, she can't do shit. She shouldn't be doing, like, literally laying in bed. She wouldn't be able to turn her head. Like, walking would be a pain in the ass. Like, everything would fucking hurt. Like, she would be nauseous and headaches and everything. Like, she wouldn't want to play with any fucking toys or a fucking AI doll at all. Like, she would be sleeping. She would want to be in bed. Like, she can't even watch TV or play a video game. She can't read a book.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, they do a bad job of...
Let me put you in school. Like, what?
What's the timeline
kids are resilient,
here?
though. Get back to work in the machines, little girl. Like,
Like, I know it's a movie and everything, but yeah,
yeah, there was no delay there. Yeah, and this just goes off of what Keith was saying, that this woman does not know anything about, like, are you in school? No, then here, I'll put you in a room with a toy. You want screens? Any screens you want, 24/7. It's all yours. Like, this child is doomed. This child, I would like to see a follow-up, M3Gan, and we see this little girl like 10 years in the future, and she's just like glued to screens and doesn't do anything like...
I think that's actually probably the point of this. That's the little bit of commentary that this movie gives us. Because, I imagine there's millions of kids that's their reality these days, with inattentive parents and just here, play with the doll or get your screen time or whatever distraction. So, I mean...
Yeah, it's become an issue and has spawned off its own versions of therapy and researches and other things. Parent-child interaction therapy, just to try to get them off screens and you interacting with your child.
Yeah.
Like, it's bad.
And this movie does do that satire pretty well. It's my favorite thing about it, and I noted every instance of it. The first one, aside from that opening commercial, being the first night in the home, Katie is going to sleep and she asks for a bedtime story because her mom used to read her one. So this terrible woman says, okay, well, I guess I could read you one. Let me download a story, and then she gets a notification that says she needs to update the app to download the bedroom story. Whereas, a traditional mom would just have a story to tell you or whatever, but she's like blocked by technology, so she can't even come up with a fucking bedtime story for this poor kid.
And how much? Okay, I know we play video games. How often does that happen? Like, you're like, you know what? I got a little bit of time. I'm going to play a video game. Downloading update, 1 of 3 updates. First update is 4.7 gigabytes. You're like, okay, maybe I'll play a video game tomorrow.
Right.
Maybe.
The next thing that we sort of get to is that therapist that you mentioned, which I wrote that she was a judgmental prick because she's just out of the gate like mean mugging this girl. And I guess we as the audience kind of know that maybe she deserves some scrutiny, but this person didn't know. She just shows up and she's like giving side eyes to like every little thing, and I'm like, wow, what an asshole.
It's funny because my impression was I put this therapist as an alien pretending to be a human, because she just didn't feel like this is not, first off, that's not how a human responds to another human that went through trauma, and it's definitely not how a therapist would respond. A therapist would be a little bit empathetic towards the other person, but oh yeah, this therapist was not. I don't know why they did this. Like, for example, you can say that the screen conversation, maybe the director, writer, and all the people involved were trying to make a comment about too many kids on too many screens. With a therapist coming in, like this, was this a choice? Was this just bad acting? Like, because it was so very cold and you know.
Yeah, I think she's like a caricature. The therapist is kind of like a cartoon character, and I think that's the point. It's like in that absurdist reality satire of this thing is kind of while not being very focused for this film, that does fit the sort of mold, you know, just sort of punching outward, omnidirectional satire blast. So let's get a judgmental therapist in there. That's
yeah. But for anybody watching this movie, if you were on the fence about therapy and you were like, and you're looking at this going, oh, if this is what therapy is like, don't listen to this movie. Therapy is much better for you than what is illustrated.
That's right, everyone. Dear listener, please do not go watch M3Gan for your therapy advice.
Research shows that if you force a child to eat vegetables, then they'll be less likely to choose those foods as adults.
Is that so?
Yes.
All right, so what happens next?
Well, let's see. Let's get a little scrub. She sort of sits down with Katie and tells her that she's going to be working, so get on the iPad and fucking leave me alone. It's kind of
do your thing. I don't care.
We see it cuts from her giving her the screen and, you know, the morning saying, I'm going to be busy designing my fucking Furbies or whatever. And then it's like hard cut to nighttime and the kid is like walks in and she's like, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. Like she just left this traumatized child alone for like, what, 12 hours the full day.
And is this where somebody says the line, so you can do the things that matter? Like, I think M3Gan says this to Gemma or something along the lines.
When she's trying to work with her at the end of it, she has her whole little spiel of like, she can raise Katie and you can focus on work because that's what's important to you. Yeah. To be a parent.
The implication is creating dolls is so much more important than raising your new daughter. That like this, don't worry about it. This is just a human being. Fuck the kids. You know, like let's worry about the kids' toys. That's more important.
Where that's a little bit later. This is what they use to set up what's called Bruce, her like college robot that she made that has which is actually kind of cool. You put the gloves on, you can like control it or whatever. That's a neat little robot. Also a little bit of a Chekhov's gun.
Yeah, definite foreshadow.
Mm-hmm. But then we cut back to what is supposed to be her premiering her new designs to her pissed off boss, but they're just working on M3Gan again, picking out wigs and shit. Because she's like, ooh, now that I have this child in my care, I can exploit the child to show off M3Gan.
Hey, I have a Q&A. I have a focus group right in my house. Stay right here. No, you're not hungry. You don't. It's not a bathroom break time. Is it 8:15 yet? Nope. You hold it. What do you think of this doll? What do you think of this doll?
Also, I like Bruce. I wrote that if I had a toy like Bruce, I wouldn't need another toy.
No, you need a second Bruce, so you could rock 'em.
Oh, Rock'em Sock'em Robots. Yes, I have that note later, because that's what the final fight kind of feels like, is Rock'em Sock'em Robots. So as soon as she's supposed to be pitching new stuff to her boss and comes in and she has the fully realized M3Gan in front of her kid. This doll, which I wrote again, looks exactly like an Olsen sister.
Yep.
And makes Katie pair with her. And I knew from that moment that was going to be an issue, right? Because she's paired to the doll. So she's going to be the only one who control it or something, or, you know, they're not going to be able to stop it.
But I mean, beyond that, it's gonna be a fucking issue. You gave a crazy amount of strength and technology to a 10-year-old girl who was just traumatized. Yep. She gets a paper cut. M3Gan's lighting that piece of paper on fire. Right. It does not matter. Anything that happens to this kid, M3Gan's gonna fucking destroy that thing.
The image of a paper cut and M3Gan immediately like getting frowny-eyed, be like, "What?" And just grabbing the paper and crumpling it up, stomping it on the ground, lighting it on fire.
There's a storm and the power goes out. She's taken out a power company.
You see this pen? A short, sharp probe to the cerebral cortex would cause full-body paralysis, and could even cause the victim to bite off their own tongue. Perhaps then you might appreciate just how useful I can be.
Somebody in this big pitch scene wrote, this is going to kick Hasbro in the dick, which is a pretty good line. But then again, we have a scene where it's not fully responding, and it's like, pull the fucking plug, you know? Like, this is not something you want to give to kids, but that's not the world this movie inhabits, so we're
I don't know,
just on
the
for
first
ride.
moment where I said look confused and it looked at me with an evil smug grin, I would have turned it off there, just because, like, I don't know, maybe there's nothing in the code, maybe it's just a bug, but it's a creepy bug.
So, how did they do this? Is it a kid with like a green screen face that they just CGI'd the face on? Because
for certain shots, for like close-ups when she's got to move really fast and stuff, so it's a few things. It's a child with a rubber-like mask that they've made on in certain shots, and then it's a child with a CGI face so that the face is, more detailed and everything, and when it's close-ups, and then they fully built animatronic puppets of Megan on top of that, and had like someone puppeteering her in certain shots. So it's a whole combo of things.
Because I will say, it looks pretty good and convincing, like, because it's supposed to be human-like and have human-like movement, but the face is robotic, and so I don't know, it kind of works on screen, all those elements together. When you see Megan like running around, it's very fluid. It's not like, you look at a Chucky movie and you can see the feet going, but they're not really making contact with the floor, whereas this you actually have a human form running around, and so it works. It looks good. It's all just a little silly.
Yeah, well, I mean, especially when we get later, like when she's, not to skip ahead, but when she's doing like the dances in the hallways and stuff like that, that started really getting into Uncanny Valley, because part of the motions of the body look very human, part of the motions of the body look very, very unnatural, and then you plaster this weird Elizabeth Olsen smudged lens, like somebody put some Vaseline over the lens kind of face, like
yeah. So after that, she takes Megan home, and we kind of get our first clue that obviously we know that it's having technical difficulties and whatnot, but our first clue that this thing is not operating as intended, because it's supposed to be off, but it's still like watching everything, which is the privacy fear of technology that we all have, my phone camera is still on whenever it's, I'm not using it.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's even the common public misconception. Well, I mean, I don't know if it's common or not, but it used to be that I've talked to people before that I said something, they'd say, how would my phone know that this is what I'm doing, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, you have a microphone on your phone. And they're like, but it's not recording. And I'm like, do you have your smart assistant set up? And they're like, yeah, every time I say, okay, Google, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, how do you think it knows to listen for okay, Google? That means it's listening to you the whole time. So even if Megan was quote unquote turned off, if she's listening for the Megan turn on, that means she's still listening. That means there's still some circuits that are still firing there.
Yeah, yet again, as someone who was just in a car accident, I have not talked about the cops that much, although they were here at my house the other night. My life has been fucking crazy. Ooh. Yeah, a very fun Friday early morning. But like,
not only
I am now
cops,
getting
but on a Friday morning. Oh, I'm sorry. Go
yeah,
ahead.
I am now getting, like, since the accident, getting like silly cops doing this thing on like Facebook and shit. Like, look at them. They're not even like near me. They're in different fucking like cities and counties and like other places, and I'm just like, No,
dog,
I'm sorry.
Heard you like
I
the
don't.
Police.
I
Here's
don't
some
need,
more police for you.
Yeah, I don't need to make them more realistic and funny and like humanize them. I need them to do their jobs. I want to see them doing their fucking job. That's been a huge problem. I'm not a happy-go-lucky white person in America who just trusts everybody. I see them fucking around and not doing their job. That's what I'm saying. Oh, they're having a snowball fight with their chief. Ha ha ha! So funny. No, go do your job.
Yeah.
Like, what?
How many untested rape kits are in your precinct right now, sir? Enjoy the snowball fight. Would you like some more free pizza?
Yeah, like I keep seeing them and it floors me every time because people are like, ha ha ha, that's so funny, and I'm just like, no, it's not. It's really not.
That's
like,
just
I don't understand.
That, like, just because you dealt with the police, that like tells me, like, imagine somebody got arrested and they get out of jail or they get on bail or whatever and they get their phone back and their phone is like,
bombarded with funny cop videos.
Look at all these police videos. You know how I know? Because you've been dealing with the police lately. You must really like the police. And it's like, not most people when they deal with the police, it's not because they're like, you know what I feel like doing today? I want to go talk to a cop. cops are cool.
Yeah, it's
You know?
like, you
like
were
I'm
around
getting-
police. You must like them. Here, have some.
Have you been shopping for a new police officer lately?
Right, like I'm getting very normal things like for my chronic illnesses and like dealing with pain and everything, and now I'm just like, cops. Just I don't understand. No. Like, fix your algorithm because it's not funny. They'd be like people seeing.
I mean, it's a little
seeing
funny.
teachers. Like, I mean, it's funny in the sense that this
it
is how
sucks.
they're trying to. It's like a PR campaign where they're trying to humanize people that are a job that most of a society is looking at going, no, they're fucking up. They're like, this whole thing needs to be fixed. And people are laughing at it. But if that was somebody at Starbucks, not that we're buying Starbucks right now, but like if that were somebody and you were trying to get food and they were fucking around with their coworkers instead, as a teacher, if you saw videos and pictures of us fucking around and not teaching your kids, you would be pissed. Like, that would not be funny to you. Like, it wouldn't be funny to you at all. Oh, we're all in the other room, just having a food fight in the cafeteria, fucking off, and your kids are just running around fucking punching each other. Like, you would not be happy.
So,
Yeah,
like,
anyways, I digress.
What we can see
Megan.
is the AI of your phone versus the AI of Megan. Let's just say that if the police were coming around your house and they were bothering you, your phone responded much differently than Megan would have.
Yeah, Megan would be like, a cab.
Megan would have been like, "Where's the local precinct, Katie?"
Yeah, like if you get, and that's also the thing, like, what, this doll would not exist in the form that she's in, like, and anyone who has been around a child would not give them something that is programmed to protect them in such a way, because it would obviously go bad.
Speaking of, this is sort of our first instance here where Katie is shooting little suction cup arrows, and one goes into the neighbor's yard, so she asks Megan to go retrieve it through a hole in the fence, and Megan goes to do that, and the dog comes and grabs Megan and attacks her, and then Katie runs up and tries to help Megan, and she gets bit by the dog. And this is another one of my favorite little satire moments, because she screams, and her shitty aunt, who doesn't pay attention to her, doesn't hear her because she's working and has her headphones on. But she doesn't hear her because she's listening to music in the headphones. The exact moment where she screams, they show her in the headset, and it's a message saying, if you were subscribed, you wouldn't be hearing this message now, which really,
Yeah,
really made me
exactly.
laugh. Because it's like, it's not even like, okay, well, music covered it. No, it's just a bullshit try and subscribe, gotcha message from Spotify.
How does this high up tech woman not have a Spotify subscription?
Right.
Like,
not
it's
only is she a
$9
terrible
month.
person,
But she's working.
she's cheap too, like,
She's not listening to music all the time. She's just working. She's just constantly working. But then it's commentary on fucking society and people
Exactly.
not paying attention to their kids and not paying attention to anything else, or just being shitty people and not paying attention to anything. There was a little boy who got attacked by a shark at that Atlantis theme park. I think it was last week, and people are like, "Oh, well, he shouldn't have been in there. Why? Where were his parents? No one was watching him. He was on a swim with the sharks excursion with other people that they paid for. He was doing exactly what he was supposed to be doing, and he got bit by a shark. But people were too fucking lazy to do that, so they just immediately started blaming this 10-year-old child." Like, not even his parents, not anything else. They were just immediately blaming this child. Like, well, he shouldn't have been in there. He shouldn't have. That's what nature is. That's natural selection. And I'm just like, you can't read. Where's natural selection for you? I bet you have kids. You probably shouldn't. Like, what?
The biting part of this to me is that it's not even that she wasn't paying attention because she was, in the moment of a good song. She's not paying attention listening to quote unquote music, but it's just berating her and trying to get her to subscribe to a service.
More capitalism.
Yeah, right.
More
right.
capitalism in your face.
Which is a lot of, it's like people who end up getting distracted and something happens. It's not that they're usually doing anything all that important. They're just fucking off and not paying attention to their surroundings.
Is that one of the themes to this movie then? Make sure you subscribe to your music services so you don't get any ads. Because you never know. It might involve your kid dying,
Oh, won't somebody please think of the children?
What kind of an example are we
setting.
Ladies, please. All our founding fathers, astronauts, and World Series heroes have been either drunk or on cocaine.
So naturally, that night, Megan goes and kills the dog. Which,
well, yeah, and I'd like to say, as soon as I saw the dog on the screen, I remembered that website. What is it? Does the dog die? You know,
yeah.
As soon as I saw a dog, I was like, Megan's gonna kill this fucking dog. As soon as it bit the hand, I'm like, oh, yep, there we go.
Which is, I don't remember hearing it, so I'm saying it to see if you guys did, is a theory that why she starts to, turn and go wrong is because he breaks the bite. There's a crunch and like a noise, apparently a loud one, but I don't remember, of like some circuitry and shit breaking within Megan, and her pupils like dilate, and that's what starts the downward spiral.
Ooh. And
no one caught it. They just weren't paying attention, so they didn't catch it.
Yeah, now when you're saying that, I remember the scene. I remember her getting bit like on the back of the neck or something like that.
Yeah,
and there's like a little spark in her, and that's where you think like maybe that's where Megan quote unquote dies. But actually, that's where like her subroutine was stored for empathy towards other humans or something. Who knows? You know?
Yeah, I hadn't considered that. That's interesting, actually. But this woman Gemma, she immediately jumps to trying to have the dog put down because she has an unrepaired hole in her fence, and I just wrote down, am I supposed to like or dislike this woman? Like,
like
right.
what kind of
I think we're not supposed to, for the most part.
I hope,
because she literally just hasn't been paying attention to this kid.
She's attractive. She made a doll. That's her redeeming qualities so far. You know, like, she didn't murder anybody. I guess this is a redeeming quality
She's
in the
just
movie.
a Karen. She's the same character she is in literally every fucking movie. Get out. Yep, get out. She's now murdering dogs. She's throwing a fit and calling the cops to get rid of a dog because it caused her a problem because she wasn't paying attention.
When it's a hole in her fucking fence, even the police officer's like, I don't know, fix the hole in your fence? Like...
And now we get Katie, what is she, going to school or like some kind of field trip?
It's a forest, like outside, offbeat, not normal school because she's been homeschooled her whole life. So she tries to find her something that might make her more comfortable versus going to going to child prison for like 10 hours a day. That's the one good thing I could say she tries to do as a guardian, is she seems to put herself in Katie's shoes for a moment in terms of schooling, like knowing she needs to go legally, but like what might be the best way to try to make this transition easier for her since she has not been in a school system before.
Yay, the hero did something redeeming. Yay.
The hero. That's a stretch. Yeah, well, you're getting all
kind of playing fast and loose with that hero word.
Yeah. They also show around this time that Katie's getting a little too attached to Megan.
Which of course she fucking is.
Right. Take that thing away from that kid. What are you doing?
She's like, you need to make friends, and like, why would I need friends? I have the friend. My friend can kill all of you. Like, what else do I need?
When she pulls up to this sort of forest little retreat thing with all the kids, I laughed out loud when Megan turns to the greeter person and she goes, what does she say? She says like, oh fuck, or oh shit, or holy shit.
No, she says, oh Jesus Christ. And she looks like she's about to throw up. I wrote it down because it was so fucking good. It was so good.
And we're introduced to this shitty kid, this bully kid, who's like he
just goes, fuck off, Holly. Yeah, I just loved it.
Yeah, his mom is like, he's having trouble, but he means well or whatever, and he's like, fuck off, Holly. And
I love that.
I wrote this bully kid is gonna die, and I can't wait.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Because you see that.
Yeah. As soon as you see him, you're just like, please. Let's go, Megan. We know what's happening. Let's just go.
Right. I'm here for it in this movie now. So let's kill this shitty kid, because he immediately he gets alone. You know, Katie goes out in the woods and she's like foraging for whatever, and he immediately like accosts her.
Yeah, and as an adult female, that child made me uncomfortable. Like, great job with your performance and whoever wrote him, because if he had grown up and gotten bigger, he is a criminal. He is a predator. He is a problem for other females in society. Because, my God.
Yeah,
Like,
Megan did
damn.
good with that one, kind of. I mean, I hate to say, like, killing a child was the proper course of action, but of all of her
Right,
kills,
but, like...
this one was the one that was the most justified.
Yeah, this is the justified kill. Yeah.
Yeah, and just to rewind just a minute, at one point, when Megan, I think, is talking to Gemma about something, though I don't remember the context, but the line was, well, that was not my intent. And Megan comes back with, and yet that was what happened. And I was like, these little tiny, even though it's coming from the villain, Megan, of the story, this is like a really good example of intent versus, the effect of what you do. And I thought that was kind of cool. And then right after, they started talking about, I forget who, I think it was the therapist or something like that, started talking about attachment theory. And as somebody that, I studied this in school, and I was like, oh, cool, they're going to get into attachment theory. And I didn't write the exact definition, but I noticed that, they got half of it right. And it was they started talking about attachment theory, and the first, couple sentences, I was like, this is right out of the textbook. This is exactly how attachment theory works. And then she went off the deep end, and it just made me so upset. I love it when you see movies actually use actual scientific theories or real mathematical framework. And then when they just go off the deep end, and there's it's no reason for her to do that. She could have explained attachment theory properly and it would have fit the scene, but she didn't. And I was just very disappointed. And I just wanted to throw that in there that, yay, good job adding attachment theory into your movie, because that's a real thing that people study and use to understand each other and themselves. But bad job of including something obscure a little bit like this that's cool and doing it half-assed. Do it at least 3/4-assed. Don't half-ass it.
I mean, that's kind of my issue with the whole movie in general, not to get into review time things now. It's just it kind of just half-asses things. And don't get me wrong, I enjoyed this movie. I went to see it in the theater the weekend that it came out. It might have been the day it came out, after work. Theaters were packed. I wasn't the only one. My friend at work went to see it, and then we were giddily talking about it. People were laughing. We had a great fucking time with this movie, so don't get me wrong. But it just did not decide which way it wanted to go. It didn't want to go all the way into being a horror movie and really scary with a little bit of camp or something like an Evil Dead, or if it just wanted to full on Evil Dead the musical or something. I would say Chucky, but not even Nightmare on Elm Street, maybe the later years when it's all jokes and shit. It's either full on camp and silly horror, or horror with a little bit of camp and you are fucking scared. You're scared. This is real world shit. And it could not decide. And I wanted more from Megan. I wanted her to actually be this murderous person like we see in this forest in the scene we're talking about. But nope, we get a super stretchy ear and her saying, "Are you listening to me?" as she's ripping a child's ear off. Pick one.
But
yeah.
Galloping Megan is scary.
Oh yeah, I wrote running on all fours creepy as fuck.
Yes, that's what I Galloping Megan is what I wanted.
Yeah.
I wanted more chaos Megan, where she is supposed to be this ultimate amazing killer, because that's what you were setting us up for, and you just didn't get all the way there.
I would have loved to see this go hard into the horror, that creepy running Megan. Awesome. Or I would have loved to see it go towards Gremlins. Go make it a complete funny, zany, wacky, have a bunch of these dolls come out and some of them are dressed like Buzz Lightyear, that kind of shit. Whatever.
She's absolutely right. It's stretching his ear, saying, "Can you hear me?" Silly, goofy. But when she rips the ear off, a bunch of blood gushes out, and it's pretty horrific. And then she's galloping, which is terrifying. But then he runs into the road and gets hit Bugs Bunny style by a truck or whatever. And it's I wrote down, "Is this slapstick?"
Yeah, and it is at that moment. I'm thinking I should be creeped out, but I'm chuckling under my breath. Is this the proper I wonder what it would have been like in the theater. Were people laughing? Were they gasping?
There's a little bit of both. There's definitely the fear of damn, look at that thing go. And then seriously, what the fuck? Even she has great lines. There is no denying the laugh lines and the shit that they put in there, because Megan is hilarious. There's the Jesus Christ. Those moments are just damn. She's hilarious. Great comedic timing.
Fuck off, Holly.
So later, when they're talking about the kid's death, and someone says he's in heaven, Megan says he didn't go to heaven.
No.
Is he in a better place? Gemma says no.
No.
And the smirk little absolutely the fuck not.
And another great line that had me really, really laughing is the police officer is, talking to them about what happened. And he says, found his ear ripped clean off. Heh, I shouldn't laugh about that. I'm like, what the fuck is this movie?
Yeah, no, you probably shouldn't, Mr. Police Officer, when you're talking about the gruesome way that this child died. You probably shouldn't make jokes and laugh about that. You're right.
So that night, Megan does a pretty brutal kill on the neighbor with like a poison spray power wash. I wrote that was pretty metal. And
yeah, and also, like, I always like looking at horror movies as somebody that's new to horror movies. I like seeing, like, what is the crime according to the horror movie logic? What did they do wrong? Like, were they underage and having promiscuous sex? Were they doing drugs? Were they getting drunk? Were they being mean? Like the little boy, he was being mean and he was assaulting somebody. Blah 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 blah. So this woman, of course, she committed the horror crime of trespassing.
Right.
She went on property that you're not supposed to be there. And as we know, in horror movies like Michael Myers and Freddy and Jason, all them, they're really big about property rights. Like they're really concerned about capitalism. They serve
get off my lawn.
Really. Yeah, they work hand in hand with the police. They just don't realize that they're on the same team.
Dead or alive, you are coming with me.
So we're getting more and more that Katie is too attached to Megan, and there's mention that you can have other toys than Megan, and she throws a temper tantrum, and she's like, "The other toys suck shit."
Yeah. So when Megan actually is stalking the woman that is trespassed and done that horrible crime, I noticed again that there was a growling sound effect in the background. And this is a trend. Like I brought it up with other movies we've talked about before. Like it was like a lion growl or something like that. Like what is up with this shorthand that directors and sound editors are doing nowadays? If we want to make something seem like a predator, we just add the sound effect of whatever predator we're thinking of at the time. Like, what was it in the last movie? I heard a bear growl when they were underwater. Like none of this even makes sense, and it feels like really sloppy shorthand to just have the growling noise of a predator that we humans recognize.
Yeah, it's a cheap tactic it looks like a shortcut to what you're trying to display without actually putting any work into it. I wrote at this point that the tone kind of reminds me of an Eli Roth movie. If anyone's ever seen Cabin Fever or the Hostel movies, where there is weird, like zany comedy out of nowhere, and then like horrific violence also. It's just it's kind of strange. And it's at this point that we see that this woman is clearly exploiting Katie because she has to use her to present this thing. Mm-hmm. And they're like, she's like having a tantrum in this room and like, no, you just need to pitch this toy, please. Like, child abuse.
Absolute. I wrote big letters at a couple places in my notes, abuse metaphor. This movie feels like an abuse metaphor, and I don't know if it was intentionally done that way or not, but like, come on, you have a child that just went through the horrific death of her parents. She's gone through a bunch of injuries herself. She's with an emotionally unavailable, cold tech bro of a surrogate mother. And now you're having her on like national news and she's the poster child for like, that girl needs therapy. She needs therapy and time is what she needs. She doesn't need to be in front and center on a fucking
We
stage.
get the gem of a line from the CEO who says, Megan's going to be a hit even with the kids without dead parents.
Oh my God, yeah, like, wow. Even the normal kids.
Right. So, this poor Katie is certainly, she's not the hero of the movie, but she's certainly like the victim, I guess, the poor bastard of the movie. Like,
yeah, hashtag Katie did nothing wrong.
So it's the day of the big premiere launch of Megan, and Katie's just freaking out the whole time, like throwing chairs at the glass. And so Gemma goes in to have a heart-to-heart with her, and I wrote that there is some extremely bad ADR voice work in this part. The shots where we're behind Gemma's head and can see Katie, you can hear like a different room tone in the audio recording. It was like recorded at a different time. It's just it's very sloppy in that instance, and it stuck out like a sore thumb for me.
Are you talking about her Kirk Picard speech where she tells everybody the merits of the lesson that she's trying to impart on the crowds?
Well, it's when she's when she's telling her let's go home, like she actually finally has the moment where she realizes that she can't do this to this kid or whatever. But they keep switching a shot to behind her, and it's like I don't know if they changed the dialogue post-production or if they just didn't get good pickup of it, but it's like you can tell it was recorded at a completely different time in a completely different place.
Yeah, and I don't know how... I didn't look into any of like the editing or the timeline or any reshoots or anything for this movie, because if you look at the second trailer, there are just things that are not in this movie that would have made it far scarier. So
Ooh, like
I don't
what?
know if they like I can't even pinpoint, like you'd have to watch the first trailer to the second trailer, but there are just things that aren't in this movie that were in the second trailer. Just to see like Did they screen test it and it didn't go well, so they took things out? Like, I was just curious to know what happened there, or if they reshot some things. Like, curious, yeah.
And it might have been changed due to their
that.
target audience, for example. Like maybe they were aiming for teenage girls as their target audience for this show, and it didn't go over as well with really heavy horror elements. So then they started adding more of the slapsticky comedy stuff. Who knows? I mean, I don't know. I'm not even trying to like generalize for who knows? Teenage girls might be really into horror, and I don't know. I was never a teenage girl, so I don't know.
It's around here where one of the guys asked the other guy, "Are you porn hubbing in the office again?" That was another standout line for me.
I would like to point out that this guy, the guy that was porn hubbing in the office again, when I first saw him in the movie, I was like, I don't know who this person is, but the casting direction for this was hire the most guilty looking nerd you can find.
Guilty nerd. That's pretty.
Because that's all he does in every scene. He just looks guilty, like he gets his eyes wide, like that's his entire shtick the entire movie.
Looks guilty is a nerd.
Yep.
You say nothing is wrong, and yet all the moisture has drained from your eyes and mouth into other parts of your body. There's something you want to ask me, isn't there?
So, Gemma does the right thing and takes Katie home, but Megan isn't having it, and she like fakes her voice to call one of the techs and get her break herself out. She's now doing the Terminator thing of AI voice copying people to get her way. And
I would like to point out that at one point when they had the two techs that were trying to, is that what you're talking about? Where they have the two techs and they're trying to unhook the cables?
Yes.
Okay, so like maybe I'm a little bit above the pay grade for this corporation, but I also know that with every set of cords, they attach at two different places. So like,
right.
So they have cords that are attaching right next to Megan and cords that are attaching back at the mainframe that they're standing next to. And they're like, we need to detach this. So they walk all the way over to Megan to detach it right next to the bloodthirsty, evil, superhuman AI that's trying to kill you. And I just started thinking, like, if my TV was trying to kill me and it had superhuman strength, I would disconnect it at the wall. I wouldn't go behind the TV to disconnect it.
Right. So Megan blows up the lab and escapes, and we get what's probably the best scene in the movie with this this soundtrack of Megan on a rampage and doing her little dance walk towards the CEO.
What are you doing? Oh shit!
Which is it's so out of left field, and that is actually extremely scary because, if you're thinking about AI and like, what is this fucking thing doing? It just starts dancing and pulls like a paper cutter, like machete piece out. It's doing flips and shit. It's so bizarre, and I love.
What is it, like fight, flight, fawn, or what the fuck?
Yeah. So
Which is so funny, like, because they put that into Halloween Horror Nights this year. Like, it wasn't like a walkthrough, like haunted house. Megan wasn't coming to like try to get you. I don't even know if she was walking around the parks, but it was literally just like a fucking Megan flash mob where it would start with one, and the music would play, she would start dancing, and then two more would come out, and then two more would come out, and they would just fucking dance and disperse. Like that was a whole experience. It's just very random.
That sounds creepy, but also, and that's how I would die. If I was in this movie, I would have seen her dancing, and I seriously would have done the head cock like a confused cocker spaniel and be like, huh? And then that's how she would have killed me.
Right. Yeah, very weird.
Which ends in the it runs he runs to the elevator, and the guilty nerd is like rapidly pressing the closed door button, but not in time. That the sort of paper cutter comes exploding out that guy's chest into geyser of blood in his face, and then Megan basically frames this poor bastard because she like leaves the weapon there, and he's covered in his blood. And that's a great scene. Watching the movie was worth it for that scene in my eyes.
For the dance scene.
Yeah. So Megan breaks out, makes her way to their house, turns off their smart home, disables everything, as comes to be expected from foreshadowing in the rest of the film. She's tapped into the grid and all of that. And it gets pretty tense and scary, but it's kind of now a little rote by the numbers as far as horror movie endings go. We do get a cool Rock'em Sock'em robot fight with Megan, which I appreciate because they set it up earlier, and so we get to see that pay off. So that was nice.
I would like to also point out that the scene when Gemma comes into the living room and Megan is playing piano. And so two things went through my mind. One, this little AI doll has a penchant for the dramatic. She definitely is like, I want to make this as creepy and scary as possible.
Right.
And I think that she referenced Interview with the Vampire, because like, I think she might have been like, that was really creepy when Lestat was playing piano when Louis and Claudia come home. Because that's exactly the scene that this reminded me of. I expected her to say, "You've been a very naughty girl."
Right. Okay. So I wrote the tech guy that I said looked like a 40-year-old Ezra Miller boy.
Yeah.
He now just looks like normal Elon Musk.
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk. Yeah.
Elongated muskrat.
Yep. Which I feel like I've seen this actor in other things, but I don't know what, and I don't care to look it up even. But
see, I can't really place who you're talking about, and now that you've told me that, I have a little less interest in looking it up. So I'm just going to take your word for it on this one.
Yeah. But that's kind of where my notes end, just because there wasn't anything that really jumped out at me significant of the ending. They fight. Megan gets messed up. She takes like a garden saw thing to the head and gets all fuglified, and then she gets her face ripped off and smashed in the chip, and that's the end of that.
Yeah, the only other like notable thing is the house technology AI, Alexa, whatever, kind of reacting when they leave to what is it like? It like zooms in and the lens on it like focuses like Megan's not gone.
Yeah, she's in the cloud.
Her AI lived in the cloud. Yeah. Which, I mean, if they made an M3Gan, then that would be that's where it would come from.
M3Gan.
I believe they are working on a sequel. It was a pretty well received film, even from critics.
I'd like to see Meg 1 and Meg 2 and.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we didn't really need to see M1 and M2 and to understand the premise of M3Gan, so it worked out.
Why do you do this?
Yeah, the only big thing that I came away with at the end, my very last note, was one more line of abuse metaphor that I feel like I'm probably doing most of the heavy lifting on this theme, this metaphor, but like the only thing that I really took away from this as far as an overarching thing is that unintentionally or intentionally that there's a lot of talk about abuse and how you treat children during traumatic events and stuff. Like, again, I'm sure they didn't intend for this to spur some huge debate about it, but for me, it was like, well, if anything, this should show you how not to treat a child after something happens.
Yeah, I don't even know if there's like a through line theme of this movie other than
probably not
than just like a satirical takedown of the sort of technology connected world that we live in. There's no like centralized message, but there are a lot of jokes and fun being poked at the concept of how we live our lives connected with all these devices these days. Nothing really heavy or discussion worthy, but the jokes were good.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
There were some good lines. Fuck off, Holly. So many good ones.
My personal favorite is the when they cut to her in the headphones, and all we hear that she can hear is, if you were a subscriber, you wouldn't be hearing this message. That's very funny to me.
Who's the guy that does Starship Troopers and RoboCop? Was it Paul Verhoeven?
Yeah,
or something?
Paul Verhoeven.
Yeah, I wonder if the creators of this were big fans of his. I wonder if maybe he was involved in some really, suggestion way behind the scenes or something, because it felt like it had a lot of that energy.
Yeah, it is the same energy. I doubt he's involved in any way. I feel like I would have heard that because I'm kind of a fan of that guy's stuff. But it's definitely in that same vein. If you look at the commercials in the RoboCop movies and then watch this, you can see a definite.
I'd buy that for $1. Yeah, same energy.
And like the car protector commercial that like makes you a flaming skeleton or whatever.
Yeah, and who knows? Maybe just the creators were big fans, and I know even a lot of times creators unintentionally follow suit just because they're fans of this stuff, and they might not even consciously made the decision. But either way, I definitely felt that vibe throughout the whole movie.
So Katie, this was your pick. Do you recommend M3Gan? Did you like M3Gan? Thumbs up, thumbs down?
Yeah, I mean, thumbs up. It's a fun movie. Don't go in expecting like some gory, crazy horror. Just go in expecting to tackle it and have some fun. If you're a person who like, I will watch Twilight and shit with my friends and sit there and make jokes the whole time, this is for you. If you're gonna take this super seriously, don't bother. Like, it's not going to be as fun for you.
Yeah. What about you, Kelly?
Yeah. I mean, if there was a borderline between a thumbs up and a thumbs down, mine would be just barely on the thumbs up side. Like, this is a one-time watch, and like Katie was saying, don't go into it with a smile on your face. Don't go into it expecting a huge horror run, because it was okay. The horror elements were cool, but they don't. It's almost like if you go into it with a horror mindset, you're going to be teased and you're going to be left wanting. If you go into it with a slightly Evil Dead type mentality, then I think you'd have a good time. So
yeah, like this she had a fucking Twitter beef with Chucky.
Yeah, exactly. And even some good horror movies like the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, they have a lot of comedic elements to it. So I don't know where that line is. I don't know enough about horror movies or film production to know but this one felt it didn't really find its footing as well as it could have, but it was still entertaining. And what about you, Keith? Did you like it? Would you give it a thumbs up, thumbs down?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I'm glad I watched it. I was entertained. I laughed more than I expected to be honest. I don't think this is something I would ever watch again on my own, but I might show it to people if I have like guests who want to see something they haven't seen that's entertaining.
Absolutely. All right, so who is our next pick? Would that be?
I think that's
you, Keith?
Me. Yeah.
Yeah, so Keith, do you have any idea what we're going to be watching next week?
Jeez, I don't know. I haven't actually even put any thought to it, to be honest. I might have to decide tomorrow and message you guys during the day.
Ooh, so it's a mystery for anybody listening. It'll be a mystery. Or if you're listening to this far in the future, you could just look at the title of the next one and you'll see what it is. So
yeah, you can see
it's
the
a mystery
future.
to us, not to you. Yeah. Read it. By the way, hello, people from the future. I hope that everything is worked out and everybody's treating each other with respect. No more war, no more homelessness. You know,
we're in utopia now. Hopefully.
Yeah. Now you can
chaos.
hear what it's like.
I want Nessie to be discovered. I want Bigfoot to be roaming around in the cities. Aliens to have finally touched down. I want chaos. Future people, let me know. Have we finally blown Nessie out of the water?
You know, I think it's possible that we can both have what we're looking for. We could have a utopia where Bigfoot is roaming the streets of the cities. And
yes, and we're launching nuke strikes on Lake Loch Ness. Yes, this is the future.
All right, well, thank you everyone for joining us. We had a great time, and we'll see you next week. We're going to look at Undisclosed Movie. We'll see what it's all about. And
yes, we will be watching insert movie title here.
Yep, and for that, thank you. My name is Kelly. Have a great one.
I'm Keith. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. I'm a robot having child who's murderous named Katie.
I'll rip your head right off your neck, I swear to God.